this video we will review some of the most fantastic trips from London. But before we start, please like this video, comment which video you want to see next and subscribe to our channel for future updates. Whoever designed London neatly placed it in the heart of a slew of wonderful road trip destinations to areas outside of London, all of which are less than 2 hours distant by car or train. They placed it well. So, if you're looking for a change of scenery, we've updated our handy list of the best day excursions out of London with essential information like how long it takes to get there, what to do, where to eat and drink, and where to stay. It's a fine list if you can pardon a rare moment of pride. Amersham. This adorable tiny chocolate box village was the setting for much of 4 weddings and a funeral, and a dozen more films. It is divided into 2 sections: the New Town, which sprang up around the tube station in the early 1900s, and the Old Town, which is home to hundreds of timber-framed taverns and coaching inns, as well as the 13th century St. Mary's Church, so, yeah, pretty old. Begin by strolling down the High Street, which is lined with lovely medieval homes. The Amersham Museum, situated in a creaking 15th century structure, presents the history of local inhabitants spanning more than half a millennium, from Protestant martyrs burned at the stake to the town's perfume factory. It's a great destination if you're looking for a good hike near London. This leaflet has 3 suggested walks that'll take you across chalk hills, through ancient woodland, and past the poet John Milton's cottage where he finished writing Paradise Lost, and started Paradise Regained, which goes some way to describing how peaceful this patch of England is. A little further on, you'll find the Chiltern Open Air Museum, where 30 quirky and interesting buildings have been literally picked up and reconstructed in a large field for you to walk through, as well as the wonderful Beaconscott Model Village, whose buildings are much more difficult to walk through. Finally, Amersham's Steam Organ Museum is only open on the first Sunday of each month, has no website, and knows very nothing about steam organs. If you get in, you can have a cup of tea and a slice of cake while surrounded by vivid, animatronic, and highly noisy old steam organs. How far do we want to go? It's actually on the Metropolitan line, so it's not too far away, and not expensive, either. It's around 90 minutes journey from central London. Is there anything decent to eat and drink? The Artichoke, a local favourite that has won several honours, is around 5 minutes from Amersham Station, including a Michelin star, awarded in 2020. Pluma delivers traditional Spanish tapas, while Darman Deli presents a well-executed globe-trotting cuisine in a cozy cafe setting. The town is densely packed with ancient village pubs, but the Griffiths brothers hold a pop-up bar at their small batch distillery on Saturday afternoons, when they also provide behind-the-scenes tours and tastings. What if I decide to stay? From roughly £110 per night, the Crown Inn mixes charming cobblestone courtyards with decor designed by Ilza Crawford, Soho House. The Nag's Head, £115 plus, is an equally beautiful boutique inn with an award-winning restaurant, while De Vere Latimer Estate, £110 plus, is a luxurious manor house hotel with all the trimmings. Crazy Bear Beaconsfield, £280 plus. A little farther out lies true to its name with colourful decor including velvet ceilings, plush peacocks, and copper roll-top baths that fill from the ceiling. Margate. Margate became home to the Turner Contemporary Art Gallery in 2011, sparking a larger revitalization. The Oceanfront Gallery is open Tuesday through Sunday and hosts a half-dozen short visiting shows at a time. Dreamland, Margate's century-old amusement park, has also received a £25 million makeover, and now features vintage rides, including a 1960s ghost train and Britain's oldest wooden roller coaster, 2 seafront restaurants, bars, street food stalls, an outdoor stage with big-name music acts, a roller disco, and, a giant inflatable rendition of Tina Turner's Head. A underground shell grotto, open Wednesday to Sunday, £4.50, is tucked away from the shoreline. It was found in 1835, stretching over 70 feet of underground passageways, and no one knows when or why it was built. The town itself is full of independent cafes, restaurants, and shops to explore, particularly vintage and antique shops like R.G. Scott, closed Wednesday and Sunday, Junk Deluxe, currently open by appointment only, Email Ahead, Peony Vintage, Cliffs Records, open daily until 3 p.m., where vinyl starts at 50p, and Fort Road Yard, open daily, a salvage yard filled with old fairgrounds signs and Dodgem cars. Finally, the beach is large and sandy, and the Viking Coastal Trail leads to adjacent Botany Bay, with a cinnamon-baked pear ice cream from Melt. How far do we want to go? It takes around an hour and a half to get there by train from St. Pancras. Alternatively, it is a 2-hour trip from central London. Is there anything decent to eat and drink? Angela's handles shellfish, but Peter's Fish Factory handles fish and chips, and the queues out the door agree. The Greedy Cow serves some hearty grilled cheese toasties, as well as a variety of other casual lunch options, or on a sunny day, head to the Dive Shack for tacos and margaritas. Bachelor's sells sausage buns and frangipan on formica tables, but unlike other hipster cafes, nothing has changed since the 1960s. Fez, a micropub stuffed to the rafters with eccentric elements of old furniture, is a local favorite for drinks, while Little Swift provides cocktails and sunsets over the sea. What if I decide to stay? The Sands Hotel, which was recently renovated, provides luxurious accommodations with views of the sea or the Old Town, £140 plus. If you're not staying but want to unwind for an hour or two, Hackle's Home is a tiny spa tucked inside a house with beautiful views, providing sea-inspired treatments. Windsor. The main lure here is Windsor Castle, but there's a lot more going on. You can ride a horse-drawn carriage through the Savile Garden, a massive ornamental park that is beautiful whatever time of year you visit. Go boating along the Thames at Cliveden. Visit a haunted Tudor mansion where the first pineapple was grown in the UK, mooch around Eton College's 5 museums, there's even one dedicated to life at Eton, or take a boat to an island racecourse. How far do we want to go? Train, 40 minutes, straight from Waterloo, or change at Slough for a speedier travel. Car, 45 minutes. Is there anything decent to eat and drink? Push the boat out to the waterside inn for triple Michelin-starred French cuisine overlooking the river, or the Two Brewers for a sophisticated spin on pub fare. What if I decide to stay? Take a 15-minute cab ride out of town to the Winning Post, a rural pub with blazing fireplaces, intimate dining rooms, and a handful of beautiful bedrooms upstairs, £104 plus. Tillingham Winery. If you don't like your grapes interfered with and prefer your wine course to surprise you, then Tillingham is the place to go. It's a 70-acre natural wine-focused estate, one of just a handful in the UK, a little less than a 2.5-hour trip down to the East Sussex countryside. The 40,000 vines that own at Benwall Gate tends to here are all planted with a sustainable mindset and sit nicely on a slope with rolling views of the river and forests. Take the 90-minute tour, which includes tasting 4 kinds of the vineyard's biodynamic and organic wines, before roaming the grounds and sinking into the peaceful agricultural settings. In addition to swirling and drinking, the facility organizes a variety of monthly activities such as tastings, special meals, seminars, foragings, and yoga. How far are we going? It takes around 2.5 hours by automobile and about 2.5 hours and 45 minutes by rail, followed by a brief taxi. Is there anything decent to eat and drink? Oh yeah. The restaurant's focus is on simple but delicious seasonal meals, such as Hispy cabbage, fava and walnut tarata or beef rump with tomatoes and Carlin peas, which are frequently derived directly from Tillingham's soil or from their favourite local producers in and around the region. Then there's the sourdough pizzas, which are made in an outdoor wood-fired oven and served outside beneath a renovated Dutch barn that's taken on a second life as a truly picturesque dining area. What if I decide to stay? The notion will occur to you, boy, I wouldn't mind sleeping here, and the good news is that you may. Option 1 involves upgrading the 11-room hotel, £165 plus, a converted hot barn, with farm chic decor and luxurious baths. One room also allows for your dog to join. Option 2 is a bell tent, £190 plus, with a king-size bed, a log burner, your own fire pit, and the best part, an outdoor loo with a view. The Hever Castle. This was Anne Boleyn's childhood house, built in 1270, and it has been remarkably well kept since then. There's a hedge labyrinth, walled rose gardens, a wisteria-laden pergola, a lake, with a floating maze, a Japanese tea house, and a fantastic gift store, in addition to the castle itself. There's also live jousting. It's a quick 10-minute drive, or 10 kilometers country walk, to the village of Chiddingstone, which claims to be England's most charming oldie-timey village. Another castle here, impressive for a one-road hamlet, with frequent live events ranging from jazz on the lawn to talks by famous authors, a 568-year-old village shop full with odds and ends, an afternoon tea served in an ancient coach house. How far do we want to go? It takes around 45 minutes by rail, from London Bridge, plus a 20-minute walk from the station, or an hour by driving. Is there anything decent to eat and drink? It has to be a rural pub, like the King Henry VIII in Ives or the Castle Inn in Chiddingstone. What if I decide to stay? Hever B&B, £100 plus, is owned by a local couple and features rooms and converted potting sheds with views of their thatched home and rural garden, whilst these shepherd's huts, £130 plus, are situated close to fields full of llamas and miniature hairy pigs, both of which you may feed. Winchester. If you admire beautiful architecture, you should visit Winchester Cathedral, Winchester College, which claims to be the oldest school in the UK, and Winchester City Mill. While you're there, you can visit Jane Austen's house, see King Arthur's original round table in the 13th century Great Hall, and, if you schedule it right, wander through the UK's largest farmers' market. How far do we want to go? 1 hour, straight from Paddington, by rail, 90 minutes by vehicle. Is there anything decent to eat and drink? The Wickham Arms is a lovely 18th century bar located about 5 minutes from the cathedral. The Chesil Rectory, a beautiful 600-year-old Grade II listed medieval house turned modern British restaurant, is another option. What if I decide to stay? Stumble up to the Wickham, where charming rooms start at £99 per night. These ultra-luxurious remote forest cabins have hot tubs as standing, £810 plus for 3 nights, while Lainston Home, a 17th century manor house, provides cookery courses, archery, and falconry, £300 plus. Salisbury. Yes, we've all heard of Stonehenge. And, to be honest, it's getting old. But, you know, Salisbury also boasts the Magna Carta and a church with Britain's highest steeple. How far do we want to go? Train, 90 minutes, straight from Waterloo, car, 2 hours. Is there anything decent to eat and drink? Hythe House Kitchen Garden is a restaurant reminiscent of Petersham Nurseries, where all of the vegetables are produced on site. After your lunch, you may even go through the grounds and choose your own bouquet. What if I decide to stay? The Red Lion Free House, £195 plus, features only 5 simple rooms, all of which are near to the pub's Michelin-starred restaurant. A bit farther away is the Dog and Gun Inn, £130 plus, a wonderful starting place for walks and trips to Marlborough, another adjacent medieval town. Deal. Previously unknown, this Kentish coastal village is destined to become, well, a huge deal. Fortunately, their town slogan is, "Befriend the stranger," so they won't mind the crowds this summer. On Friday nights, the Brutalist Piers restaurant overlooking the channel transforms into a lobster and steakhouse, or you may hunt for your meal along the shore with the Wild Kitchen. Back on land, there are dozens of pastel-colored shops selling antiques, ice cream, and bric-a-brac. Not one, but two castles built for Henry VIII, a small museum covering the town's main sources of income, from smuggling to baking, independent art galleries Lindenhall Studio, Don't Walk Walk, and Taylor Jones & Son, housed in Deal's old smuggling tunnels, the fascinating Museum of the Moving Image. How far do we want to go? It takes around an hour and a half by rail or 2 hours by driving. Is there anything decent to eat and drink? The King's Head, which overlooks the sea and has wallflowers pouring from every window box, is the most beautiful place for a pint. Benoit Descott and his girlfriend Sarah Ross manage La Panadia, a bottle store and wine bar in one, whose restaurant a few doors down, Frog and Scott, has a Michelin nod. The Dining Club provides a weekly changing, global cuisine in private dining rooms, and they'll just as happy organize a beach barbecue for you. What if I decide to stay? Would the rose smell as delicious under any other name? Yes, absolutely. Beautiful rooms, £145 plus, hallway honesty bars, tandems for hire, a sun-filled patio, and a fantastic restaurant, where Uber chef Nuno Mendes is now working on his first partnership outside of London. Bath. Bath, which is just as peaceful as it sounds, established itself as a spa town 3,000 years ago. You may wander around the Roman hot spring baths before diving into the water at this naturally heated rooftop pool, or drink it, while dropping razor-sharp Jane Austen-style witticisms, at the pump room. There are a slew of galleries and museums to visit, ranging from the home where Herschel found Uranus to the spectacular Fashion Museum. And that's before you catch a show at the prestigious Theatre Royal Bath, fly over the city in a hot air balloon, trek through the city's meadows, visit the lovely village of Laycock, and climb to the top of Bath Abbey's tower to watch the sunset with a glass of champagne. How far do we want to go? 1h20 by rail, or 2.5 hours by car? Is there anything decent to eat and drink? Noya's Kitchen's scallop shell for no fuss yet excellent seafood and incredible Vietnamese. The Dark Horse is an award-winning, low-lit cocktail bar, and Comedia is the place to go for nighttime entertainment, including comedy, music, and cabaret. What if I decide to stay? Broad Street Townhouse has comfortable rooms above its cafe cocktail bar starting at £145 per night, but number 15 Great Pulteney, £145 plus, is a magnificent boutique hotel in a stately old townhouse with a spa attached, of course. Cambridge. Cambridge, albeit somewhat smaller than its spiritual brother Oxford, receives a double first in spectacular museums and jaw-dropping architecture. Visit the beautiful old colleges where Sir Isaac Newton, Sylvia Plath, and Jimmy Carr once studied. Go punting along the Cam. Don't get a tour, it's more fun to fall in. Soak up culture at the Kettle's Yard Gallery or the Fitzwilliam Museum. Cool off at the Jesus Green Lido, and take a picnic to the Botanic Garden. How far do we want to go? Train, 45 minutes, straight from King's 10, car, 1 hour. Is there anything decent to eat and drink? We prefer the Garden Kitchen for a quick snack after Kettle's Yard, Trinity for oysters, champagne, and a plethora of posh British food, and Fitzbilly's for the greatest Chelsea buns in the nation. Vegans should be delighted about Vandelal's tasting menus and natural wines, while Hot Numbers is the place to go for decent coffee. On a nice day, try the Fort St. George near the river, although the Eagle is exceptionally cozy, and is where Francis Crick rushed in exclaiming he and James Watson had found the secret of life, when they determined the structure of DNA in 1953. What if I decide to stay? University Arms, £170 plus, has been entertaining visitors since 1834 and recently received a design refresh by Martin Brudnicki. They even provide gratis bicycle hiring if you ever leave your room. The Varsity, £325 plus, lacks the boutique atmosphere, although it does feature a very appealing rooftop bar and a jacuzzi with river views. In the summer, the magnificent Gonville Hotel conducts pop-up cinema screenings on its green lawn, £130 plus. Oxford. Oxford, slightly larger than its spiritual brother Cambridge, receives a double first in spectacular museums and jaw-dropping architecture. You may also wander around the colleges here, but for the greatest perspective, climb the tower at St. Mary's to see the dreaming spires and the famed Radcliffe camera. Then visit the Pitt Rivers Museum to see the shrunken heads and Irish bread stamps, the Ashmolean to find Guy Fawkes' lantern, then go for lunch on the rooftop, the Botanic Garden to see how it compares to the other place, punt along the river, or take a boat cruise past the countryside that inspired Alice in Wonderland, browse the restricted section of the Bodleian Library, take afternoon tea at the oldest coffee and be thankful you don't have to write an essay. How far do we want to go? 1 hour by rail, straight from Paddington, 2 hours by vehicle or coach. Is there anything decent to eat and drink? In an ancient chemist's, Arbequina serves critically regarded Barafina-level tapas. The Turf Tavern is a student favorite and the old haunt of many a notable graduate, where you may weigh in on Nietzsche's radical rejection of truth for perspectivism, or, failing that, enjoy a pint. And if you get an ice cream craving between 10 and 12 o'clock at night, you can always go to one of the G&D cafes. What if I decide to stay? The Head of the River, £130 plus, has lovely rooms above a tavern directly on the river, while Molly's, the Soho House Hotel, £85 plus, is a bit further out. However, with its 2 Michelin-starred restaurant, vintage automobile hire, and 5 asterisk accommodations, Le Manoir aux Quatre Saisons, £10.55 plus, is the ideal spot to sweep someone special off their feet and drop that magical question. May I borrow £1,055? Blenheim Palace. Blenheim Palace is the place to go if you want to read about great leaders who helped preserve humanity from the Nazi threat during the 1940s and see where they grew up. If you want to combine the two, it's an easy 30-minute trip from Oxford, but there's easily a day's worth of gardens, lakes, and elegant interiors to explore, plus a regular calendar of events, from lunar cinema pop-ups to music festivals, horse riding, light trails, Christmas markets, and more. How far do we want to go? 2 hours by car, 1 hour by train. Is there anything decent to eat and drink? The Orangery, an elegant cream-colored dining room with a glass-paneled roof and huge floor-to-ceiling windows that flood it with light, is by far the nicest of the palace's food and drink options. The cuisine is modern British, and the drinks include a global wine list that includes both rosé and regular champagne. They also have a small selection of classic cocktails and 9 different G&T varieties. What if I decide to stay? The 13th century rooms at MacDonald Bear Hotel, with exposed beams and original fireplaces, are so romantic that Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton used to stay there, £139 plus. The Crown, £200 plus, has only 5 rooms, but they're all stunning, with freshly ground coffee, fluffy robes, and cowshed products in the bathrooms. Brighton. Chairs for the deck. Large wheels. Fish and chips. If you're interested in these things, you should visit Brighton. The pier has been standing for more than 120 years, supporting hundreds of arcade games, carnival attractions, and food kiosks. Back on dry land, there's a slew of independent shops in quaint old buildings along the lanes, nearly 100 flea market stalls at Snooper's Paradise, the world's oldest aquarium, the world's oldest electric railway, the amazing, Indian-styled Brighton Pavilion, a toy museum tucked into Victorian cellars, and a country walk through an abandoned village. How far do we want to go? 1 hour by train, 2 hours by car. Is there anything decent to eat and drink? For a beer, go to the Mash Tun. Otherwise burnt orange for smoke-scorched meals in a chic patio, food for friends for vegetable, the salt room for fish, and 64 degrees for small theatrical dining are all worth a visit. What if I decide to stay? The Grand Brighton is a true Grand Budapest with sea views, £170 plus, while Snooze is a charmingly nostalgic boutique hotel where you can text for breakfast in bed, £100 plus. Canterbury. It is the location of Canterbury Cathedral, to which people literally make pilgrimages. If that doesn't tickle your fancy, the punting trips around the city's waterways will, floating by the cottages, gatehouse towers, and flowers is reminiscent of something out of a Disney movie. Hockney artwork, the original Bagpuss, and a crow wearing a coat may be found in the Beanie House of Art and Knowledge, or see a play before dinner at the Marlowe. There's also City Feast, a new weekend and night market located along the river with street food vendors and pop-up bars. And, if you're willing to go a few miles out of town, you may join the Goodenough family for a vineyard tour and English wine tasting, whose wines are more than adequate. Finally, Huckleberry Woods is a farm with just little animals, micro-pigs, small donkeys, teddy bear lambs, and tiny bees, the majority of which you may stroll. If you're looking for something more exciting, you can glimpse Arctic foxes, wolves, and bears, oh my, in Wildwood at night. How far do we want to go? 90 minutes by car, train. Is there anything decent to eat and drink? Foodies should pay a visit to the Goods Shed, a cathedral dedicated to locally produced vegetables, artisan cheeses, homemade pickles, freshly baked bread, and ethically sourced meat, all of which is transformed into delectable meals at the accompanying restaurant. For pubs, try the Dolphin or the Thomas Becket, then head to Refectory Kitchen the next morning for a slap-up breakfast and a garage coffee. What if I decide to stay? The Falstaff features elegantly constructed guest rooms situated around a central courtyard, as well as a cocktail bar and pizza restaurant, £84 plus. The Pig, £170 plus, 3 miles outside of town but featuring evocative bedchambers in a lovely old home where Led Zeppelin played shows in the 1970s, is even more decadent. There's also a fantastic restaurant, a culinary garden, cozy nooks with open fireplaces, and spa treatments in potting sheds. And it's worth stopping in Canterbury since you can go for a long walk the next morning too. Whitstable. Whitstable is hard to beat for coastal day getaways from London. Along the pebbled beach, shacks and eateries sell oysters, mussels, and lobster that have been dragged fresh from the water in front of you. Take a refreshing plunge, rent a canoe or paddleboard, or simply relax with a takeout pint before exploring the high street, which is lined with independent bookstores, antique furniture businesses, and vintage apparel stores. Our favorites include Vita stores, Harbour Books, Frank and Anchors Away. Finally, grab a Sunday cone and walk up to Whitstable Castle, actually more of a large castle-shaped mansion, to explore the chambers and grounds, which hold a variety of events ranging from farmers' markets to witches' festivals. How far do we want to go? Train or automobile takes 90 minutes. Is there anything decent to eat and drink? Wheeler's Oyster Bar doesn't have to rely on its attractive pink facade to get customers in, the seafood does. If you don't like oysters, go to Jojo's, then the 12 Taps, or, if you book far enough ahead, get a table in the utterly humble, and Michelin-starred, pub The Sportsman. Try the house roast at Blueprint Cafe for great coffee and a slice of cake, or the charming Windy Corner stores for a table in the sun. What if I decide to stay? These renovated fishermen's cabins, £85 plus, overlook the oyster bays and are close on the port. The Driftwood Beach House features just 3 rooms, £150 plus, but each has its own private outdoor jacuzzi. Stratford upon Avon. It's reasonable to say that being the birthplace of William Shakespeare, this beautiful small town is at least a little bit inspiring. The quaint town centre, with its thatched cottages, boasts not one, but 6-ye-olde places associated with the bard, his birthplace, Anne Hathaway's cottage, their daughter Susanna's house and his mother Mary Arden's farm, both currently closed, his school, and Holy Trinity Church, where he was baptized and buried alongside Anne and various other relatives. If you need a respite, Shakespeare's term, you can take a rowing boat out on the canal, watch gratifying marble runs at this Museum of Mechanical Art, and see the bard's work played at the RSC, one of Britain's most prominent theatres. How far do we want to go? 2 hours by car, train. Is there anything decent to eat and drink? Paul Foster's Salt is a Michelin-starred, crowd-funded restaurant, who cut his teeth at Le Manoir and Restaurant Sat Bains. What if I decide to stay? Choose your era at Hotel Indigo, £93 plus, which boasts guest rooms in Tudor, Georgian, and contemporary structures, all sumptuously designed to match. The White Swan, £107 plus, is a cozy wood-panelled bar with rooms above that have exposed beams and 4 posters. Huntingdon. This town, founded by King John in 1205, is rich with relatively modern Tudor homes. In addition, Oliver Cromwell was born here, and they have the only museum dedicated to him anywhere. Horton Mill milled flour between 1600 and 1930, and has recently reopened. Take a look around, then taste it in their tea shop. You may rent a canoe from here and paddle up to St. Ives. The bridge features a little chapel hanging off the side that has been used as a surgeon, a tavern, and a brothel throughout the years. Take a look around by borrowing the key from the town hall. How far do we want to go? 1 hour by rail, at least 2 hours by auto. Is there anything decent to eat and drink? The Samuel Pepys serves real beers and delicious pies, and there is live music on select nights. The River Terrace Cafe in St. Ives provides large breakfasts and small meals for supper directly on the river. What if I decide to stay? The Old Bridge boasts 24 boutique rooms, £130 plus, £240 for a 4-bed, a fantastic restaurant, and an adjoining wine shop with enigmatic dispensers for DIY wine tastings. Henley on Thames. If the name seems familiar, it's because every year, Oxbridge students compete on the Thames in a regatta here. You may have a more leisurely vacation by renting a boat or joining a cruise. There is also a rowing museum there. Mill Meadows includes deck chairs for hire and live music from the bandstand in the summer, and Marsh Meadows is a nice site for wild swimming in the Thames down near the lock. After that, visit Informality, a contemporary art gallery, and then browse the town's independent shops. Machin's, a butcher's with its own smokehouse adjoining, is a favorite of Mary Berry. Wild and Rust sells dried flower bouquets and handcrafted candles. Jonkers has beautifully bound rare books, and Tudor House Antiques is crammed to the eaves with centuries-old oddities and ends. If you're willing to go a little further into the countryside, you may visit Fairmile Vineyard for wine tastings while admiring the rolling hills. How far do we want to go? 1 hour travel time via automobile or rail. Is there anything decent to eat and drink? The Boathouse's Bistro offers all-day dining on a riverside terrace. What if I decide to stay? The Hotel du Vin in Henley, £119 plus, is housed in a 17th-century brewery and features a festoon-lit courtyard for dinner and drinks. Tunbridge Wells. Okay, so there are a lot of London workers who come to Tunbridge Wells every day to go home. Those that don't, however, are losing out on one of the best day excursions from London, owing to its beautiful Pantiles shopping arcade, breathtaking gardens, and soothing waters renowned to treat any 18th-century ailment. Take a lengthy walk through the 6,500-acre Ashdown Forest, the inspiration for Winnie the Pooh's modest 100-acre wood, or ride your bike down a disused railway route where nature has reclaimed control. Groombridge Place, with its Drunken Garden, Penshurst Place, and Scotney Castle, a storybook ruin and manor house with towers, a moat, and walls covered with ivy and white wisteria, are scattered around the town. How far do we want to go? 1 hour by driving or direct rail from Charing Cross, Waterloo. Is there anything decent to eat and drink? Juliet's provides seasonal café cuisine and a hearty breakfast, while the Warren, located outside Ashdown Forest, raises wild boar, cattle, and deer for its specialties. Try Thackeray's for great dining, or drive 15 minutes to the Poet at Matfield. On a nice night, reserve a table on the Beacon's Terrace for stunning views of the countryside. What if I decide to stay? The Tunbridge Wells Hotel, £70 plus, is set atop the Pantiles and features a lovely candlelight cafe and antique-filled rooms.